Alright, so I'm going to be doing the derivative of function with all the rules by yours truly, me. Alright, so here we have our equation, 7x to the negative 6 plus 18 tangent x times 4x to the 3 halves minus sine of 2 pi x over a natural log of 4x squared minus x to the negative first minus tangent of e to the x plus 17x squared minus cosecant x plus 5 to the power of 8 minus 14x squared plus secant x plus inverse sine of 12x to the fourth over 5 to the x minus the natural log of x to the plus 17x to the negative 3 halves minus g of x, where g of x is equal to the inverse of x to the third plus x to 7 halves minus cosine x. So all the rules we have power rule here, trig rule here, product rule, inverse rule, quotient rule there, chain rule, exponent rule, inverse trig rule, natural log rule or chain rule, and inverse rule. E to the x rule as well. So here you go, starting on the first part, fairly simple, negative 42x to the negative 7th. Boom, one down. Alright. Second one, a little longer. We have f prime times g plus f times g prime. So f prime, 18 times secant squared of x times 4x to the 3 halves plus 18 tangent x times 6x to the 1/2. And multiplying all of this out, we get 72x to the 3 halves times secant squared of x plus 108 x to the 1/2 times tangent x. There you go. We have this here, quotient rule. So we'll need f prime times g minus f times g prime all over g squared. So sine of 2 pi x, we have 2 pi cosine of 2 pi x times the natural log of 4x squared minus x to the negative first minus sine of 2 pi x times, to do the derivative of a natural log, you just take inside prime over the inside. So we have 8x minus x to the negative second over 4x squared minus x to the first negative first. And now we put all of this over the natural log of 4x squared minus x to the negative first squared. Here we have the chain rule. So we'll start off, we have a negative here, so negative secant squared of e to the x plus 17x squared minus cosecant of x, and we multiply this by the derivative of the inside, so e to the x plus 34x minus plus cosecant of x times the cotangent of x. Now we have the exponent rule, which you just take the natural log of the base multiplied by the equation itself but since this is not just an x, we'll apply chain rule here and multiply it by derivative of this inside here. So negative 28x plus secant of x times the tangent of x. So now we have the inverse trig rule. So we'll start off with the 1 over root 1 minus 12x to the fourth over 5 to the x squared, and then multiply this by some more quotient rule here. So comes out to be 48x to the third times 5 to the x minus 12x to the fourth times natural log of 5 times 5 to the x, and all this here will be over 5 to the x squared. Coming back to this one here, we have a minus out in front. So, back on track. Negative natural log of x plus 17x to negative 3 halves. So, 1 plus 25.5x minus 1 minus 25.5x to the negative 5 halves over x plus 17x to the negative 3 halves minus sign out in front, and the final equation here we have negative x to the third plus x to 7 halves minus cosine of x. And to find out the inverse here, we'll just plug in like this. So third root of y to the third and third root of x. So this makes x equal to x to the 1/3. And if we do the derivative of that, we get 1/3 x to the negative 2/3. Take the next derivative of x to the 7 halves. So y to the 7 halves is equal to x. So what we'll do here is we'll square it and then take the 7th root. So x squared, 7th root, that's equal to x to the 2/7. So taking the derivative of that, we have 2/7 x to the negative 5/7. Taking the derivative of negative cosine of x, inverse is just inverse cosine of x. The derivative is 1 over root 1 minus x squared. There is a minus out in front, but as you can see here, there's a minus there, so this cancels out, making it a positive, and we'll put it in here. So, now that we've taken the derivatives, it's time to put them all together. So, up first, we have our negative 42x to the negative 7th. Next, we have our 72x to the 3 halves times secant squared of x plus 108x to the half times tangent x. This minus our next equation, a long one, 2 pi cosine of 2 pi x times the natural log of 4x squared minus x in the negative first minus sine of 2 pi x times 8x minus x to the negative 2 all over 4x squared minus x to the negative first. So next we have our chain rule problem, which will start out with a minus, or not yet actually. All of this will be over natural log of 4x squared minus x to the negative first squared. Now, when we move on to our next one, which will be secant squared of e to the x plus 17x squared minus cosecant of x times e to the x plus 34x plus cosecant x cotangent x. Up next is our exponent problem. Start off with a plus natural log of 5 times 5 to the power of 8 minus 14 x squared plus secant of x times negative 28x plus secant x tangent of x. Alright, up next, our inverse sine, where we'll have a plus 1 over root 1 minus 12x to the 4th over 5 to the x squared times 48x to the 3rd times 5x minus 12x to the 4th times natural log of 5 times 5 to the x and all of this is over 5 to the x squared. So, 2 more left. So, it's all of this here minus 1 minus 25.5x negative 5 halves over x plus 17x to the negative 3 halves. So now that minus 1/3 of x to the negative 2/3 plus 2/7 x to the negative 5/7 plus 1 over root 1 minus x squared. Alright, so it's pretty messy, not going to simplify, and that's the end of the video.